Hello and welcome to my video lecture on the HTTP GET request. So again, from IT30, you should have a pretty good notion of what an HTML form does. So here, what we're doing is we're slipping in a little PHP to make the form a little bit more interactive. So here we have code for a form. So the form tag starts here and ends here. So everything in between that is the form. The action attribute associated with the form is going to be what file gets run when this form gets submitted. So in this case, the display.php form will get executed or will get run when this form gets submitted. And then the method, which is what makes this a GET request, the method equal to the word GET makes this an HTTP GET request. The rest of this, we have three labels. One is going to be first name colon, the next one's going to be last name colon, and the third one is really just going to be a non-breaking space, really a placeholder. And then we have three inputs. The first two inputs are of text type, so they look like text boxes. The name of the first one is first name, again, all lowercase with an underscore. And the next one's name is equal to last name, all lowercase with an underscore. We're using breaks to put these on different lines. And then the last input is a submit type, which makes it a submit button. And the value of that is submit, which really at this point has fairly little meaning. We'll get to that later. A URL that gets created when this form is submitted is on a local host is going to be a local host, the path to wherever the display PHP file is, and then it's going to be called the display PHP file, and it's going to pass in as parameters first name equal to whatever is entered into that text box for first name, which in this case would have been Ray, and then it's going to concatenate to that last name equal to Harris, which would have been entered into the last name text box. And then you would get the data and actually process it using some PHP code in the display PHP file that would store that would use the get array, looking for the value put in for first name, and take that value and put it into a local variable called first name. Notice the dollar signs make these local variables, local PHP variables. And then we would do the same thing with the value from last name, both ending in a semicolon. Another way of doing this would be to make an anchor tag and use the href to send the information, display PHP equal first name equal to Joel and last name equal to Murak, and then a label for this anchor tag would be something like display name. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So I've gone into NetBeans and I've created an HTTP GET project. Here's my index.html file. This should look very familiar. So in this case, this is doctype HTML, which makes it an HTML5 file. Here we have our HTML tag. We have a header section, which is simply going to have a title of HTTP GET example, which is going to show up in the tab. And then we've got our body, which consists of a form. And this is what we just reviewed in that PowerPoint slide. And then here on the bottom is going to be an anchor tag passing Joel and Murak. This could also pass the value for these labels, but let's not get into that right now. And then we have the display PHP file. So this is going to be the PHP file, which is going to perform our get. It's going to go to the global get array. It's going to look for the value stored in the first name of that array and put it into the local variable. So here's our PHP section. And then we have an HTML section, HTML5 section. We have our HTML. We have our header area. So this is going to, once again, this is going to say HTML get display example, so we can see the difference there. and then we're just going to display the information from our local variable. So here we're going to echo out the first name, and here we're going to echo out the last name that was grabbed from here. So I have set this, as you can see, this is the bold. So what I've done is I've gone into run, and I've set the main project to my HTTP get, which now I just unset. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it. So here's my HTTP GET example. Notice that this has very poor formatting since I didn't use a CSS file, which is not what I'm concentrating on in this course. So I'm going to put in my name. I'm going to put in my Devlin, and when I hit submit, so what you see here, this is the URL for our index HTML file, right, associated with the HTTP GET project. When I click submit, I get sent to my HTTP GET display example. So this is actually my display PHP file, and it was passed, the first name and the last name values got passed to the GET array, and it got displayed in the URL. So notice that that is now public knowledge that is displayed in the URL, so there's nothing hidden there. And then we get first name Mike and last name Devlin displayed. If I go back and I use the anchor tag that we had set up in the HTML file, if I click display, notice that it's passing Joel and Murak, and first name is going to be Joel and last name is going to be Murak. So a couple of things to note, right, that if you're going to use the GET array, it's going to display or add that information to the URL. Let's take a look at what that means. So when do you use, when is it a good idea to use the GET method? So to use the GET method, when the request is for a page that just gets data from a database server, right, which is pretty harmless. All I want to do is get it and display it. The other time that you want to use is when the request can be executed multiple times without causing any problems. So what does that mean? So let's go back here, and I can basically rerun this. I can refresh this over and over and over and over again, and it doesn't make any difference. I'm not writing any records to a database. I'm not making any kind of updates. So I can use a GET with this kind of interaction, because here all I'm doing is I'm displaying data. I'm going to grab a little data. Maybe I'm even getting data from a database, which we're not doing in this example, but I could, because all I'm doing is using it for display. I'm not doing anything else with it. So there's my example of using the GET array to pass data between HTML and PHP forms, and some reasons why you would use the GET array.